So today I want to show you how you can build a gaming computer without having a case. So the first thing you need is this cut box right here to make sure you put your motherboard on top. Otherwise it will get fried if you put it on top of something else. So do make sure that you have a box, a cut box specific. Make sure that you put on top of it. And then the motherboard I'm going to be using is the MSI gaming motherboard. It does have USB-C port, and then it supports 9 gen and 8 gen. So for CPU cooling, I'm going to be using this cooler right here. It did come with the motherboard. It's very affordable on Takealot if you want to buy it. So the next thing you need is the SSD. You can use hard drive, but I'm using SSD. Mine is 256 gig. It's good enough for what I want to do, but I'm going to install games on hard drive, but this is what I have. So for Wi-Fi connection, I have a USB dongle, so it's to make sure that my computer does connect to Wi-Fi. And to connect my hard drive, I'm going to be using this SATA cable and then my graphic card. I do have the MSI GTX 1050. It's just a budget friendly for gaming. It's nothing big, but it's the GTX 1050 Ti. Is 4 gig. It's good enough to play a few games. And then the RAM, I do have 16 gig of RAM. I bought it from Amazon. It was on special, so this RAM is good enough. It's DDR4. The controller, I'm going to be using these two controllers that I bought from Takealot. The one is the pink, and then the other one is blue. It's just that my concern with these controllers is the battery. It's not good enough. It's just good for like 1 day, but it's okay. The other thing I have is the fan. So this fan is for cooling SSD. I'm going to use it to cool SSD. You don't have to use it. It's an optional thing. And then I have the gaming mouse. I'm never going to use these things. Are crap, especially if it's wireless. I prefer gaming on a controller. And then I have 500 gig Toshiba hard drive is to store my games. Keep in mind, it's not for like putting Windows. It's just to put the games to make sure that I have enough storage. But I'm going to upgrade anyways, just to show you that you can build a gaming computer without a case and in an affordable way. And then I have the thermal paste here to make sure that you do put it on a CPU to keep it cool. It's very, very important that you do buy a thermal paste if you don't have it. So power supply, I'm going to use this one. This brand is really, really, really reliable. These power supplies are really good. I bought it from Takealot also. Make sure you don't buy a used power supply. Otherwise, you're going to fry your whole computer. And then it's also having like 80 plus rating. It's a good power supply. It does everything I want it to do. And then the next step is to make sure you put your CPU. Make sure you do not bend the pins. Otherwise, it's never going to work. By the way, I'm using i7. I think it's i7-8700. It's not the K. It's i7-8700. It's really good. And don't make the mistake that I did. I did drop my CPU inside of that CPU socket there, but no pin were bent. Just make sure that you don't make these mistakes. Otherwise, you're going to bend the pin. After putting your CPU, just make sure that you have a good thermal paste. Just put your thermal paste. Don't put a lot. Just put the one that you think is enough, but make sure that it's not a lot. And then the next thing will be installing like your CPU cooler, like your fan, whatever that you want to call it. And then you take this cable right here, and then make sure that you do look for a port to put it. I think it's going to be written like CPU fan, something like that. Mine is on the corner there. Then just put it, and then after everything is done, make sure that you didn't forget to put the thermal paste. I kind of forgot the clip where I was installing the CPU fan. I did forget that clip, but I'm not really experienced with these things. And then the next step, make sure that you put your SSD. So there's going to be a screw on that SSD thing, and then remove that screw, and then you take your SSD, make sure that you put it correctly, and then after putting it, make sure that you take a screwdriver and then you screw it. By the way, I'm horrible with editing. And then the next thing you have to do is to install your RAM. So if your motherboard has 4 slots, make sure that you install on the second slot coming from the fan side, just to make sure everything is balanced. Just install your RAM, make sure that you put it correctly. If it doesn't work the other way, make sure that you flip it over and then just push it down. It will like lock automatically. Now that you're done putting the RAM, make sure that you put the GPU also, whether you call it the graphic card. So your motherboard should have a slot for that. You'll see it there. Like mine, it has like 3 slots, but I'm just going to use the first one, the one with metal. It doesn't make any difference. You can use the one that you want. And then my graphic card, once again, is the GTX 1050 Ti. Is good enough for a lot of games, like playing in a medium way. After putting the graphic card, the next step will be to connect your power supply to the motherboard. Take these pins that you see here, and then you plug them directly to the motherboard. Your CPU should have the pins like that, and then once you plug it to the motherboard, make sure that it goes in the correct way. Once it's in, Now that you're done with the motherboard stuff, make sure that you plug in the CPU power. You just take off you just take that cable and then you plug it in there. And then once you're done with all of that, the next step will to plug in the fans or the hard drive. So I'm going to start with my fan. So this fan, I'm going to use it to cool down the SSD. But you don't have to do this. Keep in mind, it's just an optional thing. It's what I want to do. So the first thing, you have to take this cable right here, and then you take that red cord at the end, you plug it to that receiver. And then the following step you'll need to do is to power on that receiver. To power on the receiver, you have to take this cable right here, and then you plug it to the power supply. This cable from the receiver, you connect it to the power supply, and then you take the cable from your fan, and then you plug it direct to the receiver. So you can plug it on any of those slots, as long as it's not for power. You plug it any of those slots, it will work no matter what. Once again, I'm not good with editing, but anyway, this thing is just to make sure that you cool the SSD. And keep in mind, it's optional. You don't have to do it every time. This is optional. By the way, I'm not good at this thing for editing and what. The next thing, just plug in your hard drive or connect your hard drive. Take your SATA cable, plug it into the motherboard. You'll see there's a slot for like something like this. This slot for plugging in the SATA cable. Plug the SATA cable direct to the motherboard. Make sure that it goes in the right way. Once it's in, and then connect it to your hard drive. This small SATA port, SATA thing, you'll see it next to the big port on your hard drive. And then you take the hard drive cable from power supply, and then you connect it. If you don't understand anything, just ask me questions on the comment. I will show you how it's done. I'm not really good when it comes to explaining these things on a video, as this is my first time. And then the next thing, make sure that you plug in to test if this thing works. Plug in your power supply, and then you take a screwdriver, and then you try to, there's these pins that down there for power, and then make sure that, you touch them with the screwdriver together. Your motherboard should power on if everything, if you did everything well. If it's not, make sure that the power supply is on. And then as you see, now it's on, and then everything, it's working. So the next thing will be to install Windows, and then plug it to the monitor or the TV, and then to see if, we were successful with building this. So what I did, I took my motherboard, and then the card box, I move it to the stand where there is a TV. So as you see, it's here. And then you take your HDMI cable. Make sure that you plug in your HDMI cable direct to the graphic card. Don't plug it into the motherboard. Plug it to the graphic card. Otherwise, it's not going to function properly. Plug your HDMI there, and then turn everything on. As you see, it's working. It is turning on. And the other thing, I did install Windows. So I did install Windows and all my games. It's time to test to see if the games, they do work. So I'm going to be playing FIFA, whatever you want to call it, EA, FC 26, whatever. We still call it FIFA, So it's just to make sure that everything is running properly. By the way, I love this motherboard and the CPU combo. It's a really, really good in terms of gaming. It's just that I'm not using a big graphic card. But anyway, this is just for testing to show you that you can build your own gaming computer without buying these expensive cases and all of those things. So anyway, let's just see if everything works. I'm playing this game at 4K, but make sure that, you keep it at 1080p if your graphic card is at medium. Otherwise, you're going to be getting lower FPS. For example, with mine, I'm getting around 23 FPS at 4K. But anyways, I will take it back to 1080p. And then the other important thing that you have to make sure, just make sure that you select the highest resolution on your TV. Mine does go up to 240 Hz, but at 1080p. So if you want it to go up to 120 Hz at 4K, you definitely need HDMI cable, the 2.1. Otherwise it's never gonna work with 4K if it's HDMI 2.0. So you make sure that you buy HDMI 2.1, and then your graphic card does support that format, and then your TV does support also the HDMI 2.1. If you don't know how to change it, you can ask me. I'll show you how to change the resolution on settings. But my TV does go up to 240 Hz. Everything is working, so I think I'm just going to end the video here.